Okay, these are things which you can do. All right. Somebody gets killed in let's say in a remote part of Trinidad. Okay, it may be that you can do very little to help that person in a remote part of Trinidad. But what you can do is that you can say, look, I need to be able to protect myself, be vigilant about how I act, and protect my family. Somebody, your neighbor gets, burgled and things are taken away. You can say, I can look at my home. Is anyone looking at my home? Is my home properly secured? Are there locks in place? Is the place burglar proof? Am I living in the right community in the first place? Should I be thinking about moving elsewhere? So there are things which you can influence in yourself, in what you do, but also around you. That's the thing. And that's the thing which you can control. But then there are things which, there's something called a proactive circle of influence. And you can be proactive about things, trying to see that you may not know, let's say, the Prime Minister, but you might know somebody who knows the Prime Minister. So you can't get access to him, but you can get access to somebody who knows him. In that way, you can be able to help influence what happens. And then there's also this circle of concern. Circle of concern simply means that it's something you're concerned about, you feel strongly about, but really you can't do very much to help the situation. It's like, what's happening in Palestine. You can say, well, look, I'm really angry with what the Israelis are doing, bombing all of the Muslims there and the Palestinians all of the time. And that's your concern. But in terms of influence, can you influence the outcome? You can't influence Netanyahu, whether or not he drops bombs. No, you can't. But what we do, we spend the vast majority of our time in our circle of concern. We look at all of the concerns, all of the world, and that consumes the vast majority of our time and our energy, rather than looking at the circle of influence. That is why, for instance, some of you are part of the Caribbean Muslim Network WhatsApp group, for instance. If you look at all of the messages which are sent on that WhatsApp group, they all have to be about with what? Circle of concern. We are concerned about this, we are concerned about that. If you look at the things which people can influence, things that are happening in the community. Look, my community, these are the things which I am doing. This is the problem which I have. What do you guys think? Can you give me some advice? How can I change something? What do you think I should be doing? These are things which you can influence. And these are the things that we should be talking about. So even in our own WhatsApp group, which is used very little, but even when it is used, there is nothing much which has been said. The easiest thing to do is to forward a nice little reminder or something from someone else. Those reminders are very good. But those reminders, they are more of concern. Welfare and well-being and that type of thing, being a little bit proactive in a circle. But really, they don't make any difference, because you will get hundreds of reminders coming into one of your messages. Does it make an impact on you? No. But if you start talking about things that, let's say, we are discussing here, and how it is that you're going to put those things into practice, then that's the difference. That will make a difference. Then you start getting the buzz. Everybody starts getting the buzz, because now you have to do things. You're not just simply talking about things. So, in summary, if we think about what we talked about for habit number 1, stop being reactive to things. Try to identify areas where we can become proactive. Don't just be reactive. If you were going into a mosque, and let's say you were going to a mosque where there is a meeting of the committee that controls the mosque management committee. And you know that there is meant to be a heated discussion. That the issue which is going to be discussed is something which may get people angry. Or it may get people, throwing insults, against each other. Then you have to be able to prepare yourself, and you have to chair this meeting. What would you do? Or if it is that you were going to the meeting to be able, let's say, to try to influence the committee so that they can make a decision that you would like. How would you go about doing it? What are some of the things that you would do? Let's say, for instance, the mosque committee, you want to go to the mosque committee, and you want to hold an event, and you know that there are some people in the committee are very much against what you are doing. But you want the committee to decide and to agree that this is the best thing and that we should go ahead with the event. Okay? This is a real life situation. What would you do? You are just a committee member. You want change. All right? You want to get something approved, but you know that there is going to be resistance. How would you go about it? Anybody? Zainab, how would you go about it? What would you do?
This is a discussion that I was having with my sister actually yesterday. I feel as though I don't need an idea to come out as mine. So sometimes I drop subtle little hints. I may show the benefit of something very subtly, and
but you know that there's going to be there's going to be resistance. So what would you do?
so the idea is to make
Give me one thing that you're going to do.
is the idea.
You're going to drop subtle hints.
Very, very subtle hints.
When?
And
Where?
in general circles, it's going to be around the community. It's going to be showing people how it might benefit them so that I get other people on board, and it doesn't need to come from me, really. I may try to drop it with someone who is influential in the community.
But it's a committee, isn't it? So what are some of the things that you would do for that committee? I want practical things.
As last night's discussion,
Yeah.
a suggestion was that we try to make the committee comfortable with us, as in we try to deal with them or spend more time around them.
Okay. So it could be why people would not want you to host, let's say you want to host an event, or why people would not want you to host an event. There are many reasons for it, isn't it? Many reasons. It could be, and you have to think why. And very often the reason why, it could be a very, very simple reason, a petty reason why. Well, last week we had an event and he didn't give me salams. And he walked past me straight. You'd be surprised. He didn't give me salams, and I'm a little bit angry about him. So if it is that he wants to do something, I'm not good. The last time he held an event there, you find that he left the floor dirty, and I'm not going to tolerate this type of thing. I'm not going to allow him to organize any event in this place because I know the type of thing to expect.
So a lot of times I feel as though resistance comes depending on who brings the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way to deal with it is very quickly, because I want to move on to some of the other things, is this. Firstly, you think about who comprises this committee, and what is my position in the committee. Okay, I'm just an equal member of the committee. How is a decision going to be made? Well, it might be made by, let's say, a democratic process where the vast majority of the people who are there, or it could be that it's one where the person who has the most influence is the person who is leading the committee, overrides, and he overrides everybody's opinion. So what do I do? Well, I need to do a number of things. I need to have a really good preparation, but I also need to talk as much as I can to every single committee member before the event takes place. So you say, who are these people? And then you say, well, look, I don't know any of them. So what I'll do is that I'll do a background search. So I'll investigate who these people are. So you say, this is this one, this is this one. Okay, what am I planning the activity for? Well, I'm planning activity for young people, all right? So these people who are in the committee, do they have any young children? Yes, they do. They have young children. So it means that this event might be useful for them, for their young children. So then you say, well, look, so for each one of these, I have now a profile of who they are. What do I do is that I make a time to be able to find where do they hang out. How can I meet them, perhaps in an informal way? So you have your case well prepared. You understand who the individuals are. You want to know, you understand, you have an idea of what their concerns might be. So what do? You go to individual X. You say, look, we've been thinking about this thing, and I want to. So the first thing that you do, you never say, this is what I want. So you say, well, look, what do you think about the idea of having this? Okay? You ask them, what do you think? You think it's a good, you think young people like your children should be educated, or we should be doing something for them? And they will look at you and say, well, like my children, you say, of course, yeah, we should be doing something. And then, so it becomes something which is personal to them now. And you make them make the case for the activity in your own conversation. And suddenly you realize that they are on board with you. They think it's something which is important. And then you go to the other guy, and then you do the same thing with him. But you have to use a different technique to get to him. Because there might be other barriers to worry about. Eventually now, before the meeting, and if you look at it, the hunch guy, the one who leads the meeting, you say, well, look, you know what? There are many things I can see on the agenda, but is there any way that we can put this thing, on the top of the agenda so that we can ensure that it's done? And you don't put it as the very first thing. Because, in most meetings, especially here in the Caribbean, people tend to arrive late. So what you do is that you ask them to do one or two simple things first, and you put it in the middle of the meeting. Okay?